On guys, CHKM773 here, and in today's video we're going to do something a little new, a little different. We're going to play some NBA 2K. We're not playing Madden this time, but it's 2K18. And I've got a good pal of mine who's going to do some analysis for the March Madness, because, you know, there's been some upsets and there have been some blowout victories. And, yeah, man, take the stage.
Alright, so the second round is happening today. It's the first day of the second round. But the first round was really interesting. So, speaking of the upsets, the most talked about one, UMBC over Virginia. The University of Maryland, Baltimore County. Beating University of Virginia by 20 in the first upset of a number one team by a 16th seed. The record was what, 133-0, and now we have a 1 in the loss column for the number one team. So that broke everybody's bracket. Only what, 2% picked UMBC to win. There were some good games out there, like Loyola Chicago and Miami. Loyola with the comeback and ending it on a buzzer-beating 3 by their guard. And that was a beautiful shot. Down 62-61, put them ahead. 0.3 seconds, shot was no good, and so Loyola advanced. Another upset that shocked everybody was Buffalo over Arizona. Arizona was a favorite for the Final Four, but they lost in the first round by 21 points to the Buffalo Bulls. Then, of course, there were some expected victories, like Tennessee over Wright State, and Cincy over Georgia State, and of course, Xavier over Texas Southern. And Xavier topped 100 points in that game, 102 to be exact. Florida State upset Missouri. Ohio State, the Buckeyes, took on the Jackrabbits, and in a very heavily favored upset by the Jackrabbits, Buckeyes came out on top, preventing the upset. They will play Gonzaga, and hopefully the Buckeyes win that one, because I'm a Buckeyes fan. San Diego State versus the Houston Cougars. The Cougars were in a tight game that whole time, but near the end, game-winning layup that's going to pit them against the Michigan Wolverines. Other than that, teams that cruised to a victory, the UNC Tar Heels, Duke, Syracuse upsetting TCU, that was a good one, Auburn, and the College of Charleston. Yeah, Auburn, Charleston had it, they could have won it late, but a few unnecessary fouls put Auburn to the foul line, cherry stripe, and they made it, so that put them in the second round. Clemson over New Mexico State. I had New Mexico State, but Clemson comes out on top by 11. Kansas, they survived an upset by Penn. Penn almost had their number that night, but came up just short, 76-60, although a good bit. Butler crushed Arkansas 79-62, and Purdue crushed Cal State Fullerton 74-48. Held them under 50 points this whole game. And then Texas Tech and SF Austin, Stephen F. Austin. Texas Tech came out on top by 10 there. St. Bonaventure coming in from the first four, and they came up just short of Florida by 15 points. Another upset that broke several people's brackets was Marshall and Wichita State. Marshall, surprisingly not favored to win that one, beat Wichita State by 6. And the Shockers were truly shocked in that one. Murray State Racers, they weren't close to a victory. They lost by 17 to the Mountaineers of West Virginia. Alabama and Virginia Tech. Colin Sexton leading his crew past Virginia Tech Hokies. And then, of course, next round, Villanova knocks them out. And Nova beats Radford by 26. Yeah, we're looking at some really good games for the second round. UMBC and Kansas State. I have a feeling Kansas State's going to pull that one out. Kentucky and Buffalo. It could be a tough one. Kentucky came off a 5-point win over former Steph Curry's Davidson. But I have a feeling Kentucky pulls out with the victory. Loyola, Chicago, and Tennessee. Right, this is going to be a good game. But the way Tennessee dismembered Wright State by 26 and Loyola escaping Miami, I feel Tennessee moves on to play Cincy, who will top Nevada. Going to the West Division, Xavier, of course, advanced, and Florida State advancing by 13. Xavier and Florida State still think Xavier is going to win this one, even though I feel that Xavier is the weakest team in the weakest number 1 seed in this year's bracket. Ohio State and Gonzaga. Gonzaga is going to win this one. Previous matchup during the year, Gonzaga won by 20-something points, 26, I believe. And so I feel that they're going to pull it off again against Keita Bates-Diop and the Ohio State Buckeyes. Houston and Michigan. I do have Houston for the upset over this one. Although Michigan won the Big Ten tournament, I do feel that Houston will have a better shot at upsetting Michigan than anybody else. And they're going to face UNC, who will beat Texas A&M. UNC played very solid against Lipscomb, draining several threes and converting on the clutch shots. Luke May and Joel Berry, they're a dynamic duo. Moving to the Midwest, Kansas and Seton Hall. Now that would be a good game, considering how Seton Hall were defeated the underdogs of NC State. I believe Kansas is going to move on with that one. Clemson, Auburn, just Auburn. Nothing to say about that. Syracuse and Michigan State. Syracuse is a good team. They made a run a few years ago. They were the Cinderella team. This year, they're not going to be. Michigan State knocked Syracuse out, and they will face Duke. Then going to the East. Yes, going to the East, Villanova, since this was taken later in the day, Villanova did knock off Alabama, and they will now play the winner of West Virginia and Marshall. I do feel that's going to be West Virginia. I think Marshall got lucky against Wichita State. Shockers. Florida and Texas Tech. I had St. Bonaventure, but now that since that's not happening, I'm probably gonna pick Texas Tech. Nah, probably Florida. Florida, because when you're a 3 seed playing a 14 seed, the last thing you want to do is lose, and the second last thing you want to do is win by a little margin. 10 points is not that convincing. Florida came in against a strong St. Bonaventure team and won by 15, so I feel that Florida has the advantage over Texas Tech, and they will advance to play the winner of Purdue and Butler, which will be Purdue after they completely destroyed Cal State Fullerton. So just let me know who you think is going to win this tournament. I have UNC winning this one, backed by Luke May, Joel Berry. Michigan State could make a run for it if they could knock off Nova, Purdue, Butler, whoever shows up from the east side of the bracket. We're looking at a really good San Antonio Final Four this year. On March 31st, don't forget to watch that. That will be a really good game. I think Kentucky can make a run to the Final Four. Cincy came out looking a bit weak against Georgia State. I don't know if they might have a tough time advancing. But for my Final Four, I have UNC, Kentucky, and the Nova, and Michigan State Spartans. So it could turn out either way. It's going to be a very, very good year based on seeing the UMBC Virginia upset. This is going to be very exciting. You do not know what could happen, so I say you watch this, and maybe next year your bracket just may be perfect. You never know.
Alright guys, and this is the end of the video, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Peace. CH Kingdom out.